A Labrador dog and her 8 puppies were cruelly abandoned by the side of a deserted road. As she fought to protect them in the darkness, something unexpected happened at dawn. A watchful truck driver noticed movement on the roadside and stopped. What he discovered as he approached would mark the beginning of a story of courage, twists, and unconditional love. The night fell heavy over the deserted road winding between the hills. The silence was broken only by the occasional distant roar of an engine and the low crying of newborn puppies. Lucy, a beautiful golden retriever, trembled with cold and fear. Her brown eyes, once full of joy, now reflected a mixture of confusion and sadness. Hours earlier, Lucy had been comfortably lying in the back seat of a car, surrounded by her 8 puppies. She blindly trusted her owners, the same people who had taken her in when she was just a puppy. But something changed. The car stopped abruptly. The door opened, and Lucy was rudely pushed out along with her puppies. "Go away! We can't keep you anymore," shouted a male voice before the car sped off, leaving a cloud of dust behind. Lucy stood paralyzed for a few moments, not understanding what had happened. Her maternal instincts soon took over, and she began to lick her puppies, trying to calm them. Carefully, she led them away from the road, finding shelter under a large bush. The night advanced and the cold intensified. Lucy curled up around her puppies, using her own body as a shield against the biting wind. She didn't sleep, remaining alert to any danger that might threaten her little ones. As the hours slowly passed, Lucy reflected on her life. She remembered the happy days in her home, playing in the backyard, walks in the park. How could everything change so drastically? What had she done wrong? Hunger began to gnaw at her, but Lucy ignored her own needs. Her only concern was her puppies. Occasionally, she would get up to check the surroundings, hoping against all odds that her owners would come back for her. But the road remained empty and silent. As the sky began to lighten on the horizon, Lucy heard the distant sound of an approaching engine. Her heart raced. Could it be? Had her owners returned? Carefully, she left her makeshift hiding place, leaving the puppies protected under the bush. Lucy walked hesitantly to the edge of the road, her paws sore from the long night without rest. Her eyes anxiously scanned the horizon, looking for any sign of hope. That's when she saw it, a large truck approaching slowly. Lucy didn't recognize the vehicle, but something inside her urged her to act. It was her only chance. Gathering her last strength, she positioned herself at the edge of the road, looking directly at the approaching truck. The driver saw her. The truck began to slow down. Lucy felt a spark of hope ignite in her chest. Maybe, just maybe, her fate was about to change. Mike, a middle-aged truck driver with kind eyes and calloused hands, was in the middle of a long trip. He had been driving all night, eager to make his delivery on time. The rising sun was beginning to tinge the sky with shades of orange when something unusual caught his attention. At the side of the road, a golden figure stood out against the green vegetation. Mike squinted, trying to understand what he was seeing. Was it a dog? He slowed down, his heart racing at the possibility of an injured animal. As he approached, Mike saw clearly. It was a retriever, thin and looking exhausted. Their eyes met, and Mike felt an instant connection. That look transported him back to his childhood, when he had a dog named Lucy, his best friend and adventure companion. Mike stopped the truck on the shoulder, ignoring the voice in his head reminding him of the tight deadline for delivery. Something more important was happening here. He got out of the vehicle slowly, not wanting to scare the dog. "Hey, girl," he called softly, extending his hand. "It's okay, I won't hurt you." Lucy hesitated for a moment, torn between fear and hope, but there was something in this man's voice, a gentleness she hadn't heard in a long time. Slowly she approached, allowing Mike to pat her head. It was then that Mike noticed the worn collar around Lucy's neck. Leaning in closer, he read the name engraved, Lucy. His heart skipped a beat. It was the same name as his childhood dog. Below the name, a simple phrase, "Always loyal." "Lucy," Mike murmured, feeling a wave of emotion. "Who would do this to you?" As if understanding the question, Lucy turned and began to walk towards the bush where she had left her puppies. Mike followed, curious. When they reached the spot, he was stunned. 8 tiny puppies, still with their eyes closed, huddled together for warmth. "My God," Mike whispered. The reality of the situation hit him like a punch. This poor dog had not only been abandoned, but left with the responsibility of caring for 8 defenseless lives. Without hesitation, Mike made a decision. He couldn't leave them there. Carefully, he began to collect the puppies, gently placing them in an empty box he had in the truck. Lucy watched attentively but showed no signs of aggression. She seemed to understand that this stranger was there to help. "Come on, Lucy," Mike called, patting the passenger seat. "You're coming with me." Lucy looked at the road one last time, as if expecting her former owners to appear. But there was no one. With a small bark, as if saying goodbye to her old life, she jumped into the truck. As Mike got back behind the wheel, his mind was racing. What would he do now? His wife would be surprised, maybe even angry. His apartment in the city was small, barely enough space for him and his family. How would he accommodate a dog and 8 puppies? But looking at Lucy, who now rested with her head on his leg, Mike knew he had done the right thing. He started the engine and got back on the road, leaving behind the sight of abandonment and heading towards an uncertain future, but full of possibilities. The day was just beginning and Mike knew many challenges awaited them, but with Lucy by his side, he felt he could face anything. A new journey was about to begin, a journey of love, compassion, and second chances. Mike's truck entered the city as the morning sun was already high in the sky. Lucy, who had dozed off for most of the journey, raised her head, her curious eyes observing the new environment. The puppies snuggled in the box beside her were beginning to stir, hungry and disoriented. Mike parked in front of his building, a 5-story edifice in a middle-class neighborhood. He lived on the 3rd floor with his wife, Sarah, and their 2 teenage children, Ethan and Emily. His heart was racing as he thought about how to explain the situation to his family. "Stay here, Lucy," Mike said softly, patting the dog's head. "I'll prepare everything upstairs and come back for you." Climbing the stairs 2 at a time, Mike tried to organize his thoughts. As he opened the apartment door, he was greeted by Sarah's questioning look. "Mike, what happened? You were supposed to be making a delivery." He took a deep breath and began to tell the story of the rescue. Sarah listened in silence, her expressions changing from surprise to concern, and finally to a mixture of compassion and apprehension. "Mike," she said when he finished, "I understand why you did this. But how are we going to care for all these dogs? Our apartment barely has room for us." At that moment, Ethan and Emily, attracted by the conversation, joined them in the living room. Upon hearing about the puppies, their eyes lit up with excitement. "Can we see them, Dad, please?" Emily begged. Mike looked at Sarah, who let out a resigned sigh. "Go get them," she said. "Let's see what we can do." With the help of the children, Mike brought Lucy and the puppies to the apartment. The small space was soon filled with excited barks and whimpers. Lucy, still cautious, observed everything attentively, but seemed more relaxed seeing the warm reaction of the children. Sarah, overcoming her initial shock, sprang into action. "Ethan, get some old towels. Emily, go fetch some milk from the fridge. Mike, we need to improvise a bed for them." In the hours that followed, the family worked together to create a comfortable space for Lucy and her puppies. An old cardboard box was transformed into a makeshift bed, lined with soft towels. Mike mixed some warm milk with water to feed the puppies, while Sarah prepared a nutritious meal for Lucy. As night approached, fatigue began to weigh on everyone. Lucy, finally feeling safe, fell into a deep sleep, surrounded by her puppies. The family gathered in the living room, exhausted but with a sense of accomplishment. "What now?" Ethan asked, breaking the silence. Mike exchanged a look with Sarah. "We can't keep all of them," he said softly. "But I promise we'll find good homes for the puppies. As for Lucy—" "She stays," Sarah interrupted, surprising everyone. "After everything she's been through, she deserves a loving home. We'll make it work." Mike felt a wave of love and gratitude for his wife. He knew it wouldn't be easy, that there would be challenges ahead, but at that moment, seeing his family united around this act of compassion, he knew they had done the right thing. As the family prepared for bed, Mike made one last visit to Lucy. Kneeling beside her, he whispered, "Welcome to the family, girl. You're home now." Lucy briefly opened her eyes, looking at Mike with an expression that seemed like pure gratitude. She gave a small sigh of contentment before going back to sleep, finally at peace after days of fear and uncertainty. Mike knew that the real challenge was just beginning. Adapting to the new routine, caring for the puppies, dealing with extra expenses, all of this would weigh on the family. But seeing Lucy sleeping peacefully, he felt that it would all be worth it. This was more than a rescue mission. It was the beginning of a journey that would change all of their lives. In the weeks following Lucy's rescue, life in Mike's house transformed completely. The small apartment, once quiet, was now full of life and activity. The puppies were growing quickly, filling the rooms with their joyful barks and clumsy play. Mike, determined to find out more about Lucy's past, decided to start an investigation. The worn collar with the name Lucy and the phrase "always loyal" was his only clue, but he felt there was more to this sweet retriever's story than just a case of cruel abandonment. One day, while browsing social media, Mike had an idea. He took a photo of Lucy and the puppies and wrote a post detailing the rescue. Looking for information about this beautiful retriever named Lucy. Found abandoned with 8 puppies, any information is welcome. The post quickly gained attention. Hundreds of shares, supportive comments, and even some offers to adopt the puppies. But among all the messages, one stood out. It was from a woman named Jennifer. "Oh my God, that's my Lucy. She was stolen from our farm months ago. I can't believe you found her." Mike's heart raced. He immediately contacted Jennifer, eager for more information. Through a video call, Jennifer confirmed that Lucy was indeed her lost dog. She told Mike how Lucy had been trained as a therapy dog and worked in a community project on the farm, helping children with special needs. "Lucy was more than a pet to us," Jennifer explained, with tears in her eyes. "She was a true hero. Her loss was devastating not only for our family, but for the entire community she helped." Mike listened attentively, feeling a mix of emotions. On one hand, he was happy to have found Lucy's true family. On the other, the idea of parting with her, now that they had become so close, was painful. "What happened after she was stolen?" Mike asked, trying to understand how Lucy ended up abandoned on the road. Jennifer sighed heavily. "We believe she was taken by a gang that steals purebred dogs for resale. But Lucy, she's special. They probably realized they couldn't sell her easily due to her specific training. And then they decided to abandon her," Mike completed, feeling a wave of anger. In the days that followed, Mike and Jennifer kept in constant contact, exchanging more information about Lucy and her history. Mike shared photos and videos of the puppies, and Jennifer was moved to see how well Lucy was caring for them, even in difficult circumstances. "She's always been a wonderful mother," Jennifer commented during one of their conversations. "When she was on the farm, she looked after all the younger animals as if they were her own puppies." Mike felt a lump in his throat. The more he learned about Lucy's past, the more he admired the dog's strength and character. He knew he had a difficult decision ahead. One night after the children had gone to bed, Mike sat down with Sarah to discuss the situation. "Jennifer wants Lucy back," he said softly, watching his wife's reaction. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, absorbing the information. "It's the right thing to do, isn't it? To return Lucy to her original family?" Mike nodded slowly. "Yes, I think so. But I don't know if I can do it. Lucy has become part of our family so quickly." The couple sat in silence for a few minutes, each lost in their own thoughts. It was Sarah who finally broke the silence. What if we offered to care for Lucy and the puppies until they're all ready to be adopted? That would give Jennifer time to prepare to receive Lucy back and give us a chance to find good homes for the puppies." Mike looked at his wife with admiration. It was a perfect solution, one that considered everyone's feelings. The next day, Mike contacted Jennifer and proposed the idea. To his surprise and relief, Jennifer immediately agreed. "You saved her life," Jennifer said, emotional. "I trust you to take care of her and the puppies, and when the time comes, well, we'll talk again." With a plan established, Mike felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He knew there was still a lot of work ahead, caring for the puppies, finding suitable homes for them, and eventually preparing for the possibility of saying goodbye to Lucy. But for now, he was grateful to have more time with her. That night, as he stroked Lucy, who slept peacefully surrounded by her puppies, Mike reflected on how a simple decision to stop his truck had triggered a series of events that changed so many lives. He didn't know what the future held, but he was determined to do his best for Lucy and her canine family, regardless of the final outcome. The mystery behind Lucy's past had been partially unraveled, but Mike felt there was still more to discover. Who were the people who abandoned her? How did she go from a farm where she was loved to the hands of criminals? And, more importantly, what did fate have in store for Lucy and her new adoptive family? With these questions in mind, Mike fell asleep, knowing that the coming days would bring new challenges and hopefully more answers. The weeks turned into months, and life in Mike's house found a new rhythm. Lucy's puppies were growing rapidly, each developing their own unique personality. The apartment, once spacious for a family of 4, now seemed too small to accommodate so many energetic lives. Mike and Sarah had transformed the balcony into a space for the dogs, with improvised beds, toys, and even a small kiddie pool for hot days. The neighbors, initially skeptical about the situation, soon fell in love with the puppies, many offering help with care and walks. Lucy, for her part, was thriving in her new environment. Her coat, once dull and poorly cared for, now shone with health. Her eyes, once sad and frightened, now overflowed with love and trust. She had become the guardian not only of her puppies, but of Mike's entire family. One day, while playing with the puppies in a nearby park, Mike noticed something interesting. Lucy seemed to react in a special way to a child passing by in a wheelchair. The dog gently approached, placing her head on the child's lap, who immediately smiled and began to pet her. "Amazing, isn't it?" said a voice behind Mike. He turned and saw an elderly lady observing the scene. "Some dogs have a natural gift for comforting those who need it most." Mike nodded, remembering what Jennifer had told him about Lucy's work as a therapy dog. "She used to work with special needs children," he explained. The lady smiled. "I'm not surprised. You know, I used to be an occupational therapist. I worked with many therapy dogs over the years. Your dog has all the signs." This conversation planted a seed in Mike's mind. He began to research more about therapy dogs and their impact on people's lives. The more he read, the more convinced he became that Lucy's destiny was not just to be a pet. She had a greater purpose. At home, Mike shared his discoveries with Sarah and the children. "What if we could continue the work that Lucy did before?" he suggested. "There are so many people in our community who could benefit." Sarah, although initially hesitant due to the additional responsibilities this would entail, soon became enthusiastic about the idea. "We could start small," she said. "Maybe visits to nursing homes or children's hospitals on weekends." The children, Ethan and Emily, were excited about the prospect of participating in such a meaningful project. "We can help train the puppies too," Emily exclaimed. In the days that followed, the family worked together to establish a plan. Mike contacted local organizations that worked with animal-assisted therapy, seeking guidance and possible partnerships. Sarah began researching the legal requirements and training necessary to officially certify Lucy as a therapy dog. Meanwhile, the puppies continued to grow and develop. Mike and Sarah knew they would soon have to start looking for permanent homes for them. The idea of parting with the puppies was painful, but they knew it was necessary. One night, as the family gathered in the living room discussing their future plans, the phone rang. It was Laura. "Mike," she said, her voice tense, "I need to talk to you about something important. It's about Bella." Mike's heart raced. He knew this moment would come eventually, but he hadn't expected it so soon. Laura wanted Bella back, or was there something else going on? "Of course, Laura," he replied, trying to keep his voice calm. "What's happening?" The silence on the other end of the line seemed endless. Finally, Laura spoke. "Mike, I've discovered something about the people who stole Bella, and I think you might be in danger." With those words, Mike felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath his feet. What had begun as a simple act of kindness now seemed to be turning into something much larger and potentially dangerous. He looked at his family, at Bella and the puppies, and knew he would do anything to protect them. Bella's journey was far from over, and now it seemed that Mike's entire family was about to embark on an adventure that none of them could have predicted. In the days that followed, Mike doubled down on his vigilance, always alert when he went out with Bella and the puppies. Laura had shared troubling information. Apparently, the group responsible for Bella's theft wasn't just a common gang of dog thieves. They were part of a larger organization involved in a variety of illegal activities, including exotic animal trafficking and even illegal experiments. "They might come after Bella," Laura warned during a video call. "She's valuable not just for being a purebred Labrador, but also for her specialized training. And now with the puppies," Mike felt a chill run down his spine. The idea that someone might want to harm Bella or the puppies was unbearable. Sarah, always practical, suggested they seek professional help. "We need to talk to the police," she insisted. "We can't handle this on our own." Mike agreed, but something bothered him. What if the police didn't take it seriously? After all, to many, it was just a case of dog theft. It was Jack, their oldest son, who had a brilliant idea. "What if we used social media to our advantage?" he suggested. "We could create a page for Bella and the puppies, share their story. The more people who know about her, the harder it will be for someone to do something bad without being noticed." The family enthusiastically agreed with the idea. Over the next few days, they all worked together to create a social media page dedicated to Bella and her journey. Adorable photos of the puppies, videos of Bella interacting with children in the park, and the story of her rescue were shared. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Thousands of people began to follow the page, enchanted by Bella's story. Comments of support flooded each post, and soon offers of help of all kinds emerged, from donations of dog food to free security services. Among the new followers was a local journalist, Mark, who became interested in Bella's story. He contacted Mike, asking to do a story about the rescue and the work the family was doing with animal-assisted therapy. Initially hesitant, Mike eventually agreed after discussing it with the family. He saw this as an opportunity to further increase Bella's visibility and, consequently, her safety. The report aired on a Thursday night. Bella and the puppies were the stars, of course, but the camera also captured touching moments of Bella interacting with children at a local hospital, where the family had started a visitation program. The impact was immediate. The story went viral, being shared on national networks. Suddenly, Bella wasn't just a rescued dog. She was a symbol of hope and how an act of kindness could trigger a wave of positive changes. But with fame came unwanted attention. A few days after the report aired, Mike noticed a strange car parked across the street, watching the house. His heart raced when he saw two men inside the vehicle, apparently taking pictures. That night, as the family discussed what to do, they heard a noise coming from the porch. Mike ran to check, fearing the worst. But when he opened the door, he didn't find intruders. Instead, he saw a small white envelope on the floor. With trembling hands, Mike opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a typed message. "We know about Bella. We know about the puppies. You have 48 hours to hand them over, or you'll face the consequences." The fear that Mike had kept under control in recent weeks finally overwhelmed him. He looked at his family, at Bella lying peacefully with her puppies, and knew he was facing the hardest decision of his life. How could he protect his family while keeping Bella and the puppies safe? The threat was real, and time was running out. Mike knew that the next 48 hours would determine not only Bella's fate, but potentially that of his entire family. With his mind spinning and his heart heavy, Mike gathered his family. It was time to make a plan, and they would need all the help they could get. The clock seemed to run faster than ever. The 48-hour ultimatum loomed over Mike's family like a sentence. But instead of giving in to panic, they decided to act. The first thing Mike did was contact Laura. She was horrified to hear about the threat, but not surprised. "They're getting desperate," she said. "What you've done giving visibility to Bella's story is interfering with their business." With Laura's help, Mike managed to arrange an emergency meeting with a local police detective who had experience in animal trafficking cases. Detective Johnson listened carefully as Mike narrated the whole story, from Bella's rescue to the recent threat. "So you did well to come to us," Detective Johnson said, his face serious. "We've been investigating this group for months, but we never had enough evidence to act. This could be the opening we needed." The plan that followed was bold and risky. Instead of hiding or handing over Bella and the puppies, the family, with police support, decided to set a trap for the criminals. Mike would use social media to announce that, due to the threats, he was considering handing Bella and the puppies over to an animal sanctuary in a neighboring town. In reality, this sanctuary would be a location prepared by the police. Meanwhile, Sarah and the children would go to relatives' house, taking most of the puppies with them. Bella and two of the puppies would stay with Mike, protected by undercover officers. Mark, the journalist who had done the original story about Bella, was brought into the plan. He agreed to do a new piece, this time focusing on the threats the family was receiving. This would serve two purposes: alert the public about the situation and hopefully pressure the criminals. In the days that followed, the tension was palpable. Mike could barely sleep, dividing his time between caring for Bella and the puppies that stayed and coordinating with the police. Every noise made him jump. Every shadow seemed a threat. Bella, always sensitive to her human's mood, stayed close to Mike as if wanting to comfort him. Her brown eyes, full of trust, reminded Mike of why they were going through all this. On the eve of the day marked for the handover, Mike made one last post on social media. "With a heavy heart, I announce that tomorrow I will take Bella and her puppies to an animal sanctuary. The safety of my family must come first. I thank everyone who has supported us so far. Bella has changed our lives, and I only hope she finds peace in her new home." The response was immediate. Hundreds of comments flooded the post, many begging Mike to reconsider, others offering help and protection. It was hard for Mike not to respond, knowing that many of those people genuinely cared about Bella. The next morning, under the watchful eye of undercover officers, Mike put Bella and the two puppies in the car. His heart was beating so hard it felt like it would jump out of his chest. Everything depended on the next moments. As he drove to the agreed location, Mike noticed a black car following them at a distance. In the rearview mirror, he saw two men in the vehicle, exactly like those he had seen watching his house days before. "They took the bait," Mike muttered to himself, feeling a mixture of relief and fear. Upon arriving at the sanctuary, actually a warehouse prepared by the police, Mike slowly got out of the car, feigning hesitation. Bella, sensing the tension in the air, was alert by his side. That's when everything happened very quickly. The black car stopped abruptly, and the two men jumped out, running towards Mike and Bella. But before they could get close, police officers emerged from all sides. "Police! Freeze!" The criminals, caught by surprise, tried to flee, but were quickly subdued and handcuffed. Mike hugged Bella, trembling with relief and adrenaline. Detective Johnson approached, a satisfied smile on his face. "We did it, Mr. Mike, and it's not just these two. With the information we've obtained, we're conducting raids at several locations at this very moment. I believe we've finally dismantled the entire operation." As Mike watched the criminals being taken away, he felt as if a huge weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Bella licked his hand, as if to say that everything would be all right now. That night, reunited with his family again, Mike reflected on the amazing journey they had lived. What had begun as a simple act of kindness, rescuing an abandoned dog, had turned into something much bigger. They had not only saved Bella and her puppies, but helped dismantle a criminal network and potentially saved countless other animals from a terrible fate. As he stroked Bella, who was sleeping peacefully surrounded by her puppies, Mike knew that their adventure was far from over. There was still much to be done, finding homes for the puppies, continuing the therapy work with Bella, and who knows what else the future held. But one thing was certain: together, they could face any challenge that came their way. With the threat from the criminals finally averted, life for Mike's family began to find a new rhythm. Bella's story and the dramatic conclusion of the police operation had captured the public's imagination. Suddenly, Mike and his family found themselves at the center of attention, with interview requests and invitations to television shows arriving daily. Initially reluctant, Mike eventually realized that this attention could be used for a greater good. With the help of Mark, the journalist who had become a close friend, they began to use their newly acquired platform to promote important causes: responsible pet adoption, awareness about animal trafficking, and the benefits of animal-assisted therapy. Bella, of course, was the star of it all. Her natural sweetness and instinct for comforting people in need made her a perfect ambassador for these causes. The hospital visits, which were once occasional, now became part of a weekly routine. Children and adults alike eagerly awaited Bella's arrival, their faces lighting up at the sight of the golden dog entering their rooms. Meanwhile, the puppies continued to grow, each developing their own unique personality. Mike and Sarah knew they would soon have to start looking for permanent homes for them. The idea of parting with the puppies was bittersweet, but they were determined to ensure each one went to a loving and responsible family. It was during one of the hospital visits that an idea began to take shape. Mike was watching Bella interact with a girl who was undergoing cancer treatment. The transformation on the child's face was remarkable, from pain and fatigue to pure joy in a matter of seconds. "You know, said the nurse accompanying them. "Many of our patients ask when Bella will return. It would be wonderful to have a resident dog here at the hospital." Those words sparked something in Mike's mind. What if they could expand the animal-assisted therapy program, not just with Bella, but by training other dogs, including her puppies, for this important work? That night, Mike shared his idea with the family. Sarah, always the voice of reason, raised practical questions about costs and logistics, but her eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. The children, Jack and Emma, immediately volunteered to help with the dog's training. In the days that followed, Mike immersed himself in research. He reached out to animal-assisted therapy organizations, veterinarians, and dog trainers. Laura, Bella's former owner, proved to be an invaluable resource, offering advice and contacts from the world of canine therapy. As the plan took shape, Mike realized he was facing an opportunity to transform what had begun as an act of kindness into something much bigger. He envisioned an organization that would not only train therapy dogs, but also educate the public about the benefits of this work and promote responsible adoption. A name naturally emerged, Paws of Hope, in honor of Bella and all the dogs who, like her, had the power to bring light into people's lives. With Mark's help, Mike launched a crowdfunding campaign to bring Paws of Hope to life. The response was beyond their most optimistic expectations. Donations began pouring in from all over the country, many accompanied by touching messages from people whose lives had been touched by therapy dogs. As the dream of Paws of Hope began to become a reality, Mike couldn't help but reflect on how a simple decision to stop his truck on that deserted road had triggered a series of events that were now impacting so many lives. Bella, lying at his feet as he worked on his computer, looked up with those wise and loving eyes. Mike smiled, knowing that all of this entire amazing journey, had begun with her. The future was full of exciting possibilities, and Mike could hardly wait to see where this new adventure would take them. One thing was certain. With Bella by his side and the support of his family and community, they could accomplish amazing things. The months that followed were a whirlwind of activity for Mike and his family. The Paws of Hope project was rapidly taking shape, thanks to the enthusiastic support of the community and media attention. With the funds raised in the crowdfunding campaign, Mike managed to rent a spacious facility on the outskirts of town. The site would be the headquarters of Paws of Hope, with areas for dog training, therapy rooms, and a space for lectures and workshops. Sarah, with her experience in administration, took on the role of project manager. She coordinated the renovations of the space, dealt with bureaucracy, and managed finances. Mike, in turn, focused on the practical aspect of training the dogs and establishing partnerships with hospitals, schools, and nursing homes. Bella, as expected, became the official ambassador of Paws of Hope. Her presence at meetings and events always caused a stir, and her natural ability to comfort people reinforced the importance of the work they were doing. Bella's puppies, now almost adults, were also playing an important role. Mike and the family had decided to keep 2 of them, Luna and Max, to be trained as therapy dogs. The other 6 were carefully selected for families who committed to continuing their training and allowing them to participate in the Paws of Hope program. Jack and Emma, Mike and Sarah's children, were fully involved in the project. Jack, with his talent for technology, created a website and managed the social media for Paws of Hope. Emma, on the other hand, showed a natural talent for dog training and spent hours working with Luna and Max. As the project grew, new challenges emerged. Mike realized they would need more hands to handle everything. That's when he had another brilliant idea: a volunteer program. "We can offer opportunities for people who want to help, but may not be able to have a dog at home," he explained to the family during dinner. "Students, elderly people, anyone who loves animals and wants to make a difference." The idea was an instant success. Within a few weeks, dozens of volunteers had signed up, eager to participate. Among them was Mrs. Thompson, the elderly lady Mike had met in the park months ago. Her experience as an occupational therapist proved invaluable to the program. With the official inauguration of Paws of Hope approaching, anxiety and expectation were palpable. Mike spent sleepless nights, checking and rechecking every detail. Sarah constantly reminded him to breathe and trust in the work they had done. Finally, the big day arrived. The Paws of Hope space was decorated with ribbons and balloons. Dogs of all sizes and breeds, all carefully trained, waited with their trainers. Bella, of course, was at the center of it all, her tail wagging happily as she greeted guests. When Mike took the small stage to give his opening speech, he felt a lump in his throat. Looking at the crowd, his family, the volunteers, representatives from hospitals and schools, journalists and community members, he was overwhelmed with emotion. "A few months ago," he began, his voice trembling slightly, "I was just a truck driver doing my job. Then on a dark night I found an abandoned dog by the side of the road. At that moment, I didn't know that decision to stop my truck would change not just my life, but the lives of so many others." As Mike told the story of Bella and how she had led them to this point, many in the audience wiped away tears. He spoke about the power of dogs' unconditional love, about how these incredible animals could bring light even in the darkest moments. Paws of Hope is not just about training therapy dogs, he concluded. It's about spreading love, compassion, and hope. It's about reminding all of us of the good we can do when we come together for a greater cause. When Mike finished his speech, the room erupted in applause. Bella, sensing the emotion of the moment, let out a joyful bark, making everyone laugh. As people mingled, meeting the dogs and learning more about the program, Mike found himself in a moment of quiet reflection. He watched Bella interacting with a child in a wheelchair, the smile on the boy's face lighting up the entire room. At that moment, Mike knew they had created something truly special. Paws of Hope was more than a project or an organization. It was the beginning of a movement that celebrated the unique bond between humans and dogs and the transformative power of that love. With Bella by his side and his family united in this mission, Mike knew they were just at the beginning of an incredible journey. The future was full of possibilities, and he could hardly wait to see where their paws would lead them next. With Paws of Hope in full operation, the following months brought a series of new challenges and opportunities for Mike and his family. The success of the program soon exceeded initial expectations, and the demand for their services grew every day. Hospitals in neighboring cities began to reach out, interested in implementing similar programs. Schools requested regular visits from the dogs to help children with learning difficulties or emotional problems. Even companies started to realize the benefits of animal-assisted therapy for their employees' well-being. Mike found himself traveling frequently, no longer as a truck driver, but as a speaker and consultant, sharing the story of Paws of Hope and guiding other communities on how to start similar programs. Bella, always by his side, continued to captivate hearts wherever she went. Sarah took charge of the day-to-day operations of Paws of Hope, proving to be a skilled and visionary administrator. Under her leadership, the program not only grew but also diversified. One of the new initiatives that Sarah implemented was a rehabilitation program for rescued dogs. Inspired by Bella's story, she realized that many abandoned or mistreated dogs had the potential to become excellent therapy dogs if given the proper training and love. Jack, now studying veterinary medicine in college, began applying his knowledge to improve the well-being of the program's dogs. He developed specific health protocols for therapy dogs and initiated research on the physiological benefits of human-animal interaction. Emma, in turn, had become a talented and respected trainer. She began offering workshops to other organizations, teaching positive training techniques and sharing her experience in working with therapy dogs. Luna and Max, Bella's puppies that the family had kept, were now fully certified therapy dogs and worked full-time in the program. Luna had developed a special affinity with autistic children, while Max excelled in working with the elderly in nursing homes. One day, while Mike was on one of his trips, he received an exciting call from Sarah. "Mike, you won't believe it," she exclaimed, barely containing her excitement. "We've received an invitation to present Paws of Hope at an international conference on alternative therapies in Geneva." The news caught Mike by surprise. What had started as a local project was now gaining international recognition. It was an incredible opportunity to share their work with the world and learn from other professionals in the field. In the months that followed, the family worked tirelessly to prepare for the conference. Mike polished his presentation, Sarah organized all the logistical details, and the children helped compile data and success stories from the program. When they finally arrived in Geneva, Mike felt a mixture of nervousness and pride. Looking at Bella, who as always was by his side, he remembered how it all began, with a simple act of compassion on a dark road. The presentation was a resounding success. The story of Bella and the impact of Paws of Hope touched hearts and minds. At the end, Mike was approached by representatives from health and animal welfare organizations from various countries, all interested in learning more and possibly replicating the model in their own communities. A particularly interesting proposal came from an international animal protection organization. They were impressed with the rehabilitation program for rescued dogs and wanted to explore a partnership to expand this initiative globally. Back in Brazil, the family gathered to discuss the new possibilities that were opening up. Paws of Hope was at a crossroads. They could maintain a local focus or embrace the opportunity to impact lives on a much larger scale. "It's a difficult decision," Mike said, looking at each member of his family. Expanding internationally would mean more work, more travel, more responsibilities, but it would also mean helping more people and more animals. Sarah smiled, taking Mike's hand. "When you stopped on that road to help Bella, you didn't think about the consequences. You simply did what was right. Maybe we should approach this the same way." Bella, as if understanding the importance of the moment, put her head on Mike's lap, looking at him with those wise and loving eyes. At that moment, Mike knew what the decision would be. Paws of Hope had been born from an act of love and compassion. Expanding that love and compassion to the world was the next natural step in their journey. "Let's do it," Mike said, feeling a wave of emotion and determination. "Let's bring hope to the world, one paw at a time." As the family began to plan for the future, Mike couldn't help but marvel at the incredible journey that a simple decision had set in motion. From a lonely truck driver to a leader of a global movement of compassion and healing, all thanks to a golden dog with a heart bigger than the world. The future was full of challenges, but also of endless possibilities. And with Bella by his side and his family united, Mike knew they could overcome any obstacle that came their way. The years passed, and Paws of Hope flourished beyond Mike and his family's most ambitious dreams. What had begun as a local project in a small Brazilian town had transformed into a global movement, touching lives on every continent. Mike, now with grey streaks at his temples, continued to be the face and heart of the program. His inspiring talks drew crowds, and his book, The Path of Paws, had become an international bestseller, translated into dozens of languages. Sarah led the global expansion of Paws of Hope, establishing partnerships with organizations in different countries and ensuring that the original spirit of the program was maintained in each new initiative. Jack, having graduated from veterinary school, had become a world authority on animal-assisted therapy. His groundbreaking research on the physiological and psychological benefits of human-dog interaction was changing the way the world viewed this therapy. Emma, in turn, had established an international training academy for therapy dogs, forming a new generation of trainers committed to the principles of Paws of Hope. And Bella, the sweet Labrador who had started it all, was still with them, now an elderly canine lady. Although she could no longer actively participate in therapy sessions, she remained a constant and beloved presence at the Paws of Hope headquarters, receiving affection from visitors and inspiring everyone with her gentleness and serenity. It was on a quiet autumn afternoon that Mike received a call that made him pause and reflect on the entire journey they had traveled. "Mr. Mike," said the voice on the other end of the line, "this is Laura. I don't know if you remember me, but many years ago I was Bella's original owner." Mike felt a shiver run down his spine. Of course, he remembered Laura. How could he forget the woman who had helped unravel the mystery behind Bella's past? "Laura? Of course I remember. How are you?" The conversation that followed was emotional. Laura told Mike that she had been following the growth of Paws of Hope from afar and the impact Bella had had on the world. "You know, Mike," she said, her voice choked with emotion, "when Bella was stolen from our farm, I thought it was the end. But seeing everything you've accomplished, I realize it was just the beginning of something much bigger." Laura's words touched Mike deeply. He looked at Bella, who was sleeping peacefully in her bed nearby. How many lives had been transformed because of this incredible dog? In the days that followed, Mike found himself reflecting on the legacy they were building. Paws of Hope wasn't just about animal-assisted therapy or dog rescue. It was about connection, compassion, and the unwavering belief in the power of love to change the world. In a family meeting, Mike shared his thoughts. "I've been thinking, he began, looking at each member of his family, about the future of Paws of Hope, about how we can ensure that this work continues long after we're gone. Sarah took his hand, immediately understanding. "You're thinking about a foundation?" Mike nodded. "A foundation that not only continues our work, but also inspires and supports others to start their own projects. Imagine a world where every community has its own Paws of Hope." The idea was met with enthusiasm. In the months that followed, the family worked tirelessly to establish the Bella Foundation, in honor of the dog that had started it all. The foundation would offer scholarships for veterinarians and trainers interested in animal-assisted therapy, fund research in the field, and provide support for communities wanting to start their own programs. On the day of the official launch of the Bella Foundation, the auditorium was packed. Representatives from health organizations, animal welfare, and media from around the world were present. Mike took the stage, Bella, now a white-coated canine lady, walking slowly by his side. The silence that fell over the audience was one of reverence. "Many years ago," Mike began, his voice heavy with emotion, "I was just a lonely truck driver on a dark road, and then I found an abandoned dog that changed everything. Bella taught me that sometimes the greatest act of love is simply to stop and extend a hand, or in this case, a paw, to someone in need." As Mike spoke about the journey of Paws of Hope and the vision for the Bella Foundation, there wasn't a dry eye in the auditorium. Bella's story, from abandoned dog to global inspiration, struck a universal chord of hope and possibility. Bella's legacy, Mike concluded, gently stroking his faithful companion's head, is not just about what we've accomplished so far. It's about the future we're building together. A future where compassion, love, and connection are the most powerful forces in the world. When Mike finished his speech, the ovation was deafening. Bella, sensing the emotion of the moment, let out a soft bark, as if giving her own approval. That night, surrounded by his family and with Bella nestled at his feet, Mike reflected on the amazing journey they had traveled. From a simple act of kindness on a deserted road, a global movement of love and hope had been born. And although the future was uncertain, one thing was clear: Bella's legacy, a legacy of unconditional love and the transformative power of compassion, would continue to inspire and change lives for generations to come. The years passed, and the impact of Paws of Hope and the Bella Foundation continued to expand, touching lives in every corner of the globe. Mike, now a man with white hair, looked back with a mixture of awe and gratitude for all they had accomplished. Bella, the sweet Labrador who had started it all, had passed away a few years earlier, leaving an immense void in the hearts of all who knew her. But her spirit lived on in every therapy dog trained, in every life transformed, in every story of hope that emerged from the work they had initiated. On a sunny spring morning, Mike received an unexpected call. "Mr. Mike," said a young voice on the other end of the line, "my name is Emily. I found something I think you should see." Intrigued, Mike agreed to meet the young woman at the local park. When he arrived, he saw a girl of about 20 sitting on a bench, gently petting a golden Labrador. "Mr. Mike," Emily greeted, standing up. "Thank you for coming. This is Luna." Mike looked at the dog, feeling a wave of emotion. Luna was the image of Bella when he first found her, so many years ago. "I found Luna abandoned by the side of a road a few weeks ago," Emily explained. "She was skinny, scared, but her eyes, there was something in them that made me stop. I couldn't leave her there." Mike listened, amazed, as Emily recounted how she had cared for Luna, taking her to the vet and discovering she was pregnant. "When I researched online about how to care for a pregnant dog, I found the Paws of Hope website," Emily continued. "I read about Bella, about how it all started, and, well, it seemed like destiny." Mike knelt down, extending his hand for Luna to sniff. The dog looked at him with gentle, trusting eyes so similar to Bella's. "Emily," Mike said softly, "you've done something amazing. Stopping to help an animal in need may seem like a small act, but it can trigger a wave of kindness that extends far beyond what we can imagine." In the days that followed, Mike worked with Emily to ensure Luna received the best care. When the puppies were born, 8 just like Bella's, it was as if the circle had closed. Mike gathered his family and the longest-serving members of the Paws of Hope team to meet Luna and her puppies. As they watched the little Labradors playing, there wasn't a dry eye in the group. "It's amazing, isn't it?" Sarah said, holding Mike's hand. "How it all started with Bella, and now we have a new generation to continue the legacy," Mike completed, smiling through tears. It was at that moment that Mike had an epiphany. Turning to Emily, he made a proposal. "Emily, how would you like to join us at Paws of Hope? We could train Luna as our new ambassador, and you could lead our next generation of trainers and therapists." Emily's eyes widened in surprise and emotion. I'd love to," she exclaimed, barely able to contain her joy. "I've always dreamed of working with animals and helping people. This would be amazing." In the months that followed, Emily became an integral part of the Paws of Hope team. Her youthful energy and passion for the work reminded Mike of himself when it all began. Luna, in turn, proved to be a natural candidate for therapy work, inheriting the gentleness and empathy that had made Bella so special. A year after the meeting in the park, Paws of Hope organized a special event to celebrate its anniversary and officially introduce Luna as its new ambassador. The auditorium was packed with supporters, volunteers, and lives that had been touched by the program over the years. Mike took the stage, Luna walking proudly by his side. Looking at the audience, he saw familiar faces and new ones, all united by their love for animals and desire to make a difference. "Friends," Mike began, his voice heavy with emotion, "when I found Bella on that dark road so many years ago, I could never have imagined where that simple act of compassion would lead us. Today we're here not just to celebrate what we've achieved, but to look to the future." He paused, gently stroking Luna's head. "Bella taught us that love has the power to transform lives. Luna and Emily remind us that this love continues, passing from generation to generation. Each act of kindness, no matter how small it may seem, has the potential to create waves of change that extend far beyond what we can see." As Mike spoke, images of Bella, of the countless therapy dogs that had passed through the program, and of the lives that had been transformed were projected on a screen behind him. There were photos of children smiling in hospital beds, elderly people gaining a new light in their eyes, people with disabilities overcoming challenges, all with the help of a four-legged friend by their side. "Paws of Hope isn't just about dogs helping people," Mike continued. "It's about reminding us of our shared humanity. It's about the connection that exists between all living beings and the power we have to make a difference in each other's lives." As he concluded his speech, Mike called Emily to the stage. "The future of Paws of Hope is in good hands," he said, putting an arm around the young woman's shoulders. "With Emily, Luna, and all of you, I know we'll continue to spread love and hope for many years to come." The audience erupted in applause. Luna, sensing the emotion of the moment, let out a joyful bark, making everyone laugh and applaud even more. After the event, as the crowd dispersed, Mike found a moment of quietude. Sitting on a bench outside the auditorium, with Luna lying at his feet, he reflected on the incredible journey he had lived. From a simple truck driver to the leader of a global movement of compassion, Mike knew his life had been blessed in ways he could never have imagined, and all thanks to an abandoned dog who had crossed his path on a dark night. "Thank you, Bella," he whispered to the starry sky, "for everything." As if in response, a gentle breeze blew, bringing with it the scent of spring flowers. Mike smiled, feeling at peace. Bella's legacy lived on, not just in the work of Paws of Hope, but in every act of kindness inspired by her story. As Mike stood up to join his family and friends in the celebration, he knew that while one chapter of his life was coming to an end, another was just beginning. With Emily, Luna, and a new generation of compassionate hearts ready to make a difference, the future of Paws of Hope shone brighter than ever, and somewhere Mike was sure Bella was watching, her tail wagging with pride and love. As the celebration continued inside, Mike took a moment to himself, walking through the gardens of the Paws of Hope Center. The evening air was crisp, and the stars twinkled brightly overhead. He found himself at a small memorial garden they had created for Bella, with a beautiful bronze statue of her sitting proudly, her eyes gazing out at the world she had helped change. Mike sat on a nearby bench, his hand absently stroking Luna's head as she settled beside him. He closed his eyes, feeling the weight of the years and the magnitude of the journey they had traveled. In his mind's eye, he saw flashes of the past, the lonely nights on the road as a truck driver, the moment he first saw Bella abandoned on the roadside, the challenges they faced together, the lives they had touched, and the movement they had created. As he sat there, lost in thought, he felt a gentle warmth envelop him. When he opened his eyes for just a moment, he thought he saw Bella sitting beside him, her golden form shimmering in the moonlight. Her eyes, filled with love and wisdom, seemed to say, "Well done, old friend. Your work here is complete." Mike blinked, and the vision was gone, but the warmth remained. He realized then that it was time. Time to pass the torch to the next generation, time to let Emily and Luna lead Paws of Hope into its next chapter. With a deep sense of peace and fulfillment, Mike stood up. He gave the statue of Bella one last loving pat and turned towards the building where his family and friends were waiting. As he walked back, he saw Sarah standing at the entrance, her face glowing with understanding and love. She had always been his rock, his partner, in this incredible journey. "It's time, isn't it?" she asked softly as he approached. Mike nodded, taking her hand. "Yes, it is. They're ready. We've done what we set out to do, and now it's their turn to take it further." Together they walked back into the celebration. Mike found Emily in the crowd and called her over. "Emily," he said, his voice filled with emotion, "I have one last gift for you." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Inside was the original collar that Bella had worn when he first found her, carefully preserved all these years. Emily's eyes widened as she realized the significance of the gift. "Mr. Mike, I don't know what to say." "Say that you'll lead Paws of Hope with the same love and dedication that Bella showed us," Mike replied, his eyes glistening with tears. "This collar represents where we started. Where you go from here is up to you, but I know you'll do amazing things." Emily hugged Mike tightly, tears streaming down her face. "I promise," she whispered. "I'll make you and Bella proud." As the night drew to a close, Mike and Sarah stood at the entrance saying goodbye to their guests. Each handshake, each hug felt like a culmination of years of shared experiences and shared dreams. Finally, as the last guest left, Mike turned to Sarah. "Shall we go home, my love?" Sarah nodded, taking his hand. They walked to their car, Luna trotting faithfully beside them. As they drove away from the center, Mike looked back one last time in the rearview mirror. He saw Emily standing at the entrance, Luna by her side, waving goodbye. The future of Paws of Hope was in good hands. That night, as Mike lay in bed, he felt a profound sense of completion. He had lived a life beyond his wildest dreams, all because he had stopped to help an abandoned dog on a dark, lonely road. As he drifted off to sleep, he could almost hear Bella's soft bark, a sound of love and gratitude that had changed his life and the lives of countless others. In the years that followed, Paws of Hope continued to grow and thrive under Emily's leadership. Mike and Sarah enjoyed their retirement, occasionally visiting the center to see the new generations of therapy dogs and the lives they were changing. And though Bella was gone, her spirit lived on in every wagging tail, every comforting nuzzle, and every life touched by the power of a dog's love. As for Mike, he lived out his days in peace, knowing that the simple act of kindness that had started it all would continue to ripple out into the world, spreading hope and love, one paw at a time.